He redefined our relationship with many countries, including US, Gulf countries, or Southeast Asia, or South Asian countries, and many other. Um, During his last days, PV Narasimha Rao saw very tough days. They say that there was an organized effort to implicate him in case after case, and he had to sell his house. He had to sell his house to pay to the advocates.
Yeah, I mean, they hounded him out. Basically, if he had remained loyal to the family, this hounding out would not have happened because there's so many other congressmen who could have been put in jail by now. Many of them are, living quite happy lives outside jail. But Narasimha Rao was taken to courts because he was not willing to, to kowtow, as the Chinese say, Sonia Gandhi. So that was a period which was very, very tragic period for him. And finally, it ended with he's not even being allowed to be cremated in Delhi. There's no national memorial for him in Delhi. I keep telling people it's an irony that people who are ministers of state in the Narasimha Rao government have streets named after them in Delhi. There's a Rajesh Pilot Marg, and there's a Madhav Sindhya Marg, there's a Arjun Singh Marg. All these fellows have margs named after them in Delhi, but there's no Narasimha Rao Marg. There's no Narasimha Rao Bhavan. So Delhi has basically rejected him, thrown him out because he decided he would stand up to the what Narendra Modi calls Lutyens mafia, Lutyens Delhi, the Khan Market gang as he calls them.
Okay. Yes, is he? I think he, as we discuss among journalists also, that he was a person who was not after publicity, or probably Lutyens Delhi didn't give him the due credit.
Yes, I mean, the funny thing, many of the Delhi kind of media also, when they think of Narasimha Rao, say, "Oh my God, he knew Spanish, he knew French, he knew several languages," as if that is the kind of ultimate achievement in life that you know European languages. I've heard it so often said by so many people in Lutyens Delhi that they think of Narasimha Rao as some great intellectual because he could speak foreign languages. But the fact is that he was highly grounded, culturally grounded in this country. He was totally rooted in the life of Telangana. So here was a political leader who attained the heights of power in the country, but had his feet firmly on the ground, on the soil of this country.
His feet were firm on the ground and soil of the country. But you have mentioned in your book several interesting incidents where you ask student about his achievements or about him or about economic reforms. Even people in Hyderabad are not aware much about what he has done for our country.
That's right. That's what my book begins with that, and it's a fact that between the Congress Party and the Delhi media and intellectual class, we are forced to forget the legacy of Narasimha Rao till Vinay Sitapati wrote that excellent autobiography, The Half Lion. And Jairam Ramesh has written a good book called Back from the Brink. I wrote my 1991. So when these 3 or 4 books came out, in 2016, I think the silver jubilee of 1991. That's the first time that people started taking a second look, or actually sometimes often the first look at Narasimha Rao's legacy. So I would credit Vinay Sitapati. I would give credit to Jairam. I would also claim credit for myself that we all forced people to look at Narasimha Rao's legacy. And then in the last 2-3 years, there has been much more recognition, I think, thanks to the fact that the BJP has made it an issue. But even the BJP till today has not yet given him the Bharat Ratna. I mean, we have given Bharat Ratnas to all kinds of people, M.G. Ramachandran, V.V. Giri, Nanaji Deshmukh. I mean, compared to Narasimha Rao, their contribution was nothing for the country. But I think finally the Telangana Rashtra Samiti in Telangana has decided to make this an issue, and they've recently launched a campaign for a Bharat Ratna. So I think finally, after all these years, thanks to the fact that this is a centenary year, there's much greater national attention on his contribution.
Okay. Yeah, it's its centenary year, and good that at least Telangana is recognizing it and they're celebrating it as his centenary year. But P.V. Narasimha Rao was a person who was also praised by his successors. Like Atal Bihari Vajpayee praised him and called him the real father for India's nuclear program.
That's right. I mean, he had a very good personal equation with both with his predecessor Chandrasekhar and his successor Atalji, and indeed Devegowda, etc. He was a traditional congressman. Actually, the thing about traditional congressmen, and I grew up in Andhra Pradesh, with lots of these traditional congressmen around me because my father knew many of them, Bengal Rao, Brahmananda Reddy, Channa Reddy, all of the traditional congressmen was an inclusive person. They made friends with the left, they made friends with the right, they had friends across the political spectrum. That was the strength of the Congress party. I think Rajni Kothari, the political scientist, called it the Congress system, which is that you act like an umbrella. Whoever is willing to come and stand under your umbrella gets your protection. So the whole politics culture of the Congress party was an inclusive culture. Nobody was a permanent enemy. Everybody was a potential friend. And Narasimha Rao came from that culture, came from that milieu. He had excellent relations with Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He actually sent an official Indian delegation to the United Nations Human Rights Conference led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And the deputy leader was Salman Khurshid. What better symbolism of Indian unity than to have Atalji and Salman Khurshid, leading an Indian delegation to the United Nations. So Narasimha Rao and Atalji himself was an inclusive personality. We now live in a politics of exclusion. White and black, friend and enemy. The country is getting divided. But one of the great legacies of people like Narasimha Rao and Atal Bihari Vajpayee was inclusive politics.